We've actually got a clip, actually, of Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor. He, yesterday, I think rather, it's quite a shock announcement, announced in the wake of coming second, having thought we'd been third place in the Iowa caucus. We've got the New Hampshire primary tomorrow. We'll get the results of that for the show for Wednesday morning. Yet again, the expectation is that Donald Trump will absolutely walk it. He was 30 points ahead of Ron DeSantis last Tuesday. And so Ron DeSantis took to social media yesterday to say this.
If we don't have a clear path to victory, accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign. I'm proud to have delivered on 100% of my promises, and I will not stop now. It's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. They watch his presidency get stymied by relentless resistance, and they see Democrats using lawfare this day to attack him. Well, I've had disagreements with Donald Trump, such as on the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Anthony Fauci. Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. Winston Churchill once remarked that success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts.
The interesting thing about this, Charlie Rowley, is that, I mean, a year ago, you'd have said absolutely sure thing to win the Republican nomination, especially if his battles against lockdown and wokedom. I'm saying he's been an absolute hero to me on that. Don't agree with him on everything, abortion, gun control and things, but on those, he's been a magnificent, magnificent trailblazer, and not just talking the talk, walking the walk as well. But that wonderful, wonderful quote that he gave about, which he claims was Winston Churchill's, apparently not Winston Churchill's. Never said it, never wrote it.
Yes, I had seen that on social media.
But most people think he did, so, you know.
It's an American, I think.
Apparently it's from an advert.
Well, there you go. So, but I think, look, as Ron DeSantis was saying there's clearly not a clear path for him to get the Republican nomination. And I think, you know...
I mean, that's an understatement, isn't it?
Yes, but he, you know, the firing gun, as you say, started, you know, over a year ago, where he was absolutely the front runner because people had thought that the Trump administration, the Trump sort of comeback was put to bed because of things that happened in the 6th of January back on Capitol Hill. So Republicans and I think Americans were looking for an alternative to Trump, and Ron DeSantis...
Trump without the baggage, everyone said.
Exactly, exactly.
But it's amazing because his campaign has been so lacklustre. And again, these debates where people are supposed to shine and you get to see people who go, oh, yeah, that person's not bad. And Nikki Haley is the last woman standing in the race. The extraordinary thing is, you know, we barely had any coverage of them. And even often we put them on the running. I think, yeah, let's talk about that tomorrow morning, see how interesting it is. And then actually the big news again is something that Donald Trump has said in a one-on-one interview or something that's happening with him in court. And he's soaked up, as he did back in 2016, he's just soaked up all of the news coverage. I wonder how much the media, you know, including ourselves, is to blame.
I think that's absolutely right. And I think, look, you know, when there is extremes, so when there is extreme lack of leadership, it seems, in America at the minute under Joe Biden, people cry out for the extreme alternative. And when you've got somebody like Donald Trump that is a strong communicator, that was brilliant in those debates, whatever you think of him, you know, against Hillary Clinton, he dominated some of those debates. And that's what won him, effectively, I think, the vote in some of the areas that you might not expect him to win, to become president.
I have to say, even despite everything, January the 6th and what, I mean, I think he's a sexist pig. I think he's racist. I think these things are undoubtedly true from words of his own, out of his own mouth. In his own actions, I think that all the cases being brought against him, they've got him back to rights. But I also think they're politically motivated, and I completely understand why people would vote for him.
Yes.
Given what the Biden administration has been doing, I can absolutely see myself as an American going, you know what? I know, and they don't ignore it. They're his Trump diehards. I mean, they just say, "Oh, he's wonderful, he's wonderful." I mean, they're evangelical Christians who think that, you know, the man's never read the Bible. I mean, for goodness' sake, stop your nonsense. Not that he should have, but I mean, you know, he plays to so many different groups. But I think most people who are going to vote for him will go, "Yeah, I don't think he's a great guy. I mean, I don't want him to marry my daughter, sort of thing." But you know, well, they probably want to marry his own daughter. Some very dodgy stuff going on there, very creepy. But fundamentally, you know, and I don't think he's even not a politician. I think he's just as much part of the swamp that he says he wants to drain. But the argument people have, and people have been calling in on the show and saying, but you know, he says he's going to do something. He says stuff out loud that a lot of people are thinking, and then he does it. When he was in office, he actually did a lot of the things he said he was going to do. This is a revelation. If the moderate so-called politicians in the Republicans and the Democrats, if they actually vaguely represented the wishes and needs and demands of the American people, then Donald Trump wouldn't be doing so well. They created this. It's their fault.
It's the current state of our politics where, as you've just said, people want to get stuff done, and they're very happy to go to the polls and hold their nose and vote for Donald Trump because they know at the end of the day, when you've got, as a silent majority of people, as it tends to be, not happy with the status quo, or there are too many agendas that are being put forward, you just know with the Donald, as he's dubbed, he will do exactly what he says he's going to do. And to be fair to Ron DeSantis, maybe the Tory party could take a leaf out of his book to say, look, Ron DeSantis is getting behind Donald Trump to unite the Republican Party, to give them the best chance of winning that election.
Nikki Haley said in an interview afterwards, look, they're bad. Biden and Trump are as bad as each other. It doesn't sound like she would endorse Donald Trump. But this is the thing. Ron DeSantis saying, he has to do that. He knows most of his support will now go to Donald Trump. I'm thinking Donald Trump looks as much as a sure thing you could have for the Republican nomination. I think it's very likely he'll win the election in November as well. I think the Biden's administration, careful what you wish for, thinking he's the easy guy to run against. I think personally, DeSantis would have been the hardest person to run against in terms of his appeal to Middle America. But you brought it back a little bit to British politics. We've seen all the battles over the Rwanda bill. There's still more stuff going on in the laws, including today on the Rwanda issue. But we've seen a lot of criticism of the rebel MPs, but also even on other issues like 40 Tory MPs, also a Lib Dem and a Labour, written to the Prime Minister today urging him to put forward an emergency bailout for dozens of councils to stop them going bankrupt. They need an extra £1 billion in funding, too much funding on social care, children's care. They simply haven't got enough. They're going to go under. Also, we've got, this free childcare pledge, one of the few promises the government has made that actually is popular with people, because childcare is such a huge barrier to people working, particularly women going back to work, and offering it to all 2-year-olds and above, just 15 hours a week, which is not much, but it's a start covering it. Of course, they haven't provided enough funding to cover it all anyway, so it's going to be the same problem that mums and dads have had even since my day. But also, they're saying IT problems and various other bureaucratic issues. It could now not happen for quite a lot of parents. A government minister was out this morning saying, no, it will, but there'll be a fudge and they'll get it through. But again, it's incompetence. It's a failure to deliver. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak and the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt been talking about tax cuts all weekend. Is that going to be what changes people's minds? Well,
there's two areas that, I take a strong interest in, because it's my niece's 2nd birthday yesterday. So, 2-year-olds, and absolutely right, parents being able to get that free childcare and child support, is something that parents were looking forward to, something that's needed, because it is very difficult when you're a new parent to start a family.
And I know people who don't have kids say, why are we paying for kids? It is virtually unaffordable for most families now.
Yes. And, no one should begrudge giving a child, whoever they are, whether you've got kids or not, the best start in life, and you want to be able to help parents help their kids as well as themselves. So it is fundamental to our society. And also, local councils have been working at the Department for Levelling Up, which looked after effectively local authorities. I know that they're always asking for money. Now, there are some authorities that are genuinely in need of more funding because they have an ageing population and there is pressure in the system. There are other local authorities who have just wasted cash loads of taxpayers' money that need to be badly managed.
And there's so much stuff that councils do. You think, why are you spending money on this? And there's like this newspaper but leaflets and things that you're printing stuff and delivering it to everyone's houses. How come you've got the money for that, but you can't provide meals on wheels for elderly people? You just prioritise, do the bare bones, and do what you need to do. And if there's money left over, but there isn't going to be money left over, so why are they wasting their money on so much rubbish?
It's a brilliant question. It's one that the department and central government really does need to get a grip on, because devolution in itself is a good thing. Giving power to local authorities, giving power to local people to make sure that they can actually have a say in who's running their local services is always a good thing. But if you've got an administration that's wasting local taxpayers' money on vanity projects and not, as you say, delivering the bare bones services up to a good standard, what people expect, then those people need to be held accountable.
Don't get me started on rubbish bin collections again. I can do all the way till 1. I can bore silly about this. I just want to finally very quickly talk about measles. Big concerns about measles outbreak. It is extraordinary. Some 3.5 million children under 16, so out of the 16 million we have under 16, are at risk of measles because they're either too young, they're under the age of 1, they haven't had one measles jab, MMR jab, or they still haven't had their second one. You're not fully immune until you've had your second MMR. I think it's at the age of 1 and the age of 3 you get those. And many haven't had any at all, particularly in ethnic minority communities, particularly as vices impacting central London and central Birmingham in particular. We are seeing cases rise and rise and rise. We thought, I mean, back in 2016, there was, a prize for, we'd basically eradicated measles in this country, and now we've got it back again. What a surprise, people not getting jabbed. However, the lack of faith in vaccinations, for me, again, I think the medical establishment brought that on themselves. I also am still very angry. I still don't understand why Andrew Wakefield, who pushed it was a lie. What he did was, he's a fraud and a liar. And he's making money out of children's misery, pretending. He knew perfectly, he faked the entire research. It's been totally debunked, pretending that that measles, the MMR jab, measles, mumps, rubella jab, caused autism. There is no evidence for this. There is no evidence for this. And a lot of people were pushing that, totally debunked. That has still gone on. And we are seeing sometimes the uptake of the vaccine is only like 75%. In places like Birmingham and London, and you need it to be at 95% to provide herd immunity. How do we deal with that?
Yeah, no, that's the key question. And look, the MMR vaccine has been around for a good while now. I think it's fair to say it is safe. It is not like 2020, the COVID vaccine, which obviously had to come on stream quickly. And you have to bear in mind that any vaccine, obviously, there will be a small number of people, however sad that is, that will have an impact or be affected by it in a disproportionate way.
But measles also has an
measles, exactly. If you don't get protected, if you don't get that jab at those ages that you described, then of course you put yourself at even further risk, and nobody wants that for their child. And it was telling during COVID that, yes, the same impact happened. It was very difficult to get to ethnic minority groups to even offer them information before coming forward and have a jab. So there has to be a huge communications exercise. There has to be lots of work with local partners, local communities to get to the people who haven't been jabbed, to provide them with the right information to come forward and get protected.
That said, I also am of the view that, and again, one of the big issues is they do loads of leaflets in, do, and goodness knows what. But it turns out a lot of it's mums that take their kids to be jabbed, that they often can't read even in their own language, a lot of the people. That's one of the biggest issues they're coming across. Not me saying it, it's the medical professionals saying it before you all write in. What a great idea it was to have a load of people in the country who don't speak English and can't read and write in their own language, who are not taking up the healthcare that is free. There's no barriers to getting healthcare in this country in terms of cost. It's free and available to everyone for the local. Those jabs are handed out, free. I mean, what a great idea that's turned out to be, everybody.